All right, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned in. And so, just to kind of get back to what we were talking to, the Mexican American family study, we have all these biological samples from people over decades. And yeah, so now in our department, we are like I was going to mention with my classmate, he's developing what's called an assay or like a test to check for aflatoxin, which is it's a mycotoxin, like a mold toxin. And it's really bad for you. It really kills your liver, and it's highly regulated by the federal government. And so the federal government, of course, anytime they regulate something, it's up to the states to do the regulating. And I actually had a conversation with the woman who runs the aflatoxin program I don't know if she still does, but this was a couple years ago. And so she works for I think it's called the Office of the Texas State Chemist or something like that. And so she was talking to me about the program, and she literally told me like Texas is kind of the Wild West when it comes to the aflatoxin testing and regulating, because Texas is the only state where every year they take their highly contaminated corn and they mix it with their uncontaminated corn to dilute it down essentially. And it's just like, whoa, that's kind of crazy that we're the only state that regularly does that. And I think she had said, other states did it back in like 2014, 2015 when there was a bad drought year. And so, so my classmate, he's been working, over the last 2 years or so to develop this test to be able to go back and look at people's samples and test whether like their levels of aflatoxin in their tissues or in their blood or their serum.
What does that cause?
For the most part, like I said, he's studying it, not me, but what I understand, it's really bad for your liver. Like it causes, so that could be a cause of the high or the disproportionate like amounts of non-alcoholic fatty liver down here. So, if people don't drink and they're getting fatty liver disease, like it's got to be from something that they're taking in.
Interesting.
And so, another thing that I kind of tie that back to is there's so many like farmers markets and small farms that may not be having their corn tested in the way that they should. So, and then of course, if you're just eating a bunch of corn product in general, which is a big part of the Hispanic diet, whether it's from tacos or chips so I mean, it's obviously in everybody's diet, but yeah, so those kinds of things that in our department and then we have another young lady, she's studying, what are they called? Basically microplastics. I can't remember the exact term she uses for them. Anyway, I'm not going to try to remember it. But yeah, so she's going to go through all those samples and run a test to see the amount of microplastics in people's blood and things like that.
Dude, that's mind-blowing, man. I had never seen microplastics before since a few months ago. And it was disheartening to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of times when you taste that water, I mean, it's very clearly not clean water because like that chemical leaching. And what's really crazy about the microplastics is microplastics like that are bad for you, but for the most part, a lot of that just passes through your system.
Okay.
What the worst part about it is if they break down in like the chemical leaching, right? Like if the chemical starts to leach, because those chemicals that leach, they mimic hormones. So they're called exogenous or xenobiotics. They're basically like exogenous or like compounds from the environment that we take in, and they mimic hormones. So our body thinks it's this hormone, but it's really this molecule that looks like the hormone that should be there. And that can cause, issues, of course, because it's taking up a certain receptor in your body that, your body's hormone should be there, but instead it's being clogged up by this other compound that you took in. And when I served in Afghanistan, it really blew me away because I was like, and this was 2009 before I had gone to school at all. I didn't have a bachelor's degree. I didn't have any kind of degrees or any kind of education. When I first got to Afghanistan, Kandahar airfield, they had our pallets of water that they were having us drinking just out in the sun.
Oof.
And so I would go out and get one of the bottles and taste it. And I mean, you could just taste the chemical leach. And I was like, dude, this is insane. Like, and I'm looking around like we spend trillions of dollars in the war and we can't even shade our water. Like, this is crazy. And so literally I would spend like 10 minutes at a pallet. And I would dig in the middle of the pallet because I figured, like, man, if there's any good water, it's going to be in the middle of the pallet where the other bottles are kind of taking up most of the brunt of the sun exposure. And so, I would spend 10 minutes, dig down for a bottle, open it, taste it. Nope, dump it. Like, nobody should be drinking this. Dude. Dump it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's crazy, man.
yeah, it's quite the experience. And then, now, 10, 15 years later, I'm studying about how those things really impact your health.
Yeah, imagine all the damages done those past 10 years to people. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I do want to get back a little bit in terms of you mentioning how disheartening it is for people to not care, or, of course,
Right.
like I'm sure maybe some people care, but they just don't know what to do.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah, I think the thing is, I get it. I'm not naive. Like for sure, that's obviously people that have had cancer before don't want to talk about cancer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is you're kind of just brushing it under the rug too. It's like the problem here is we need to do better for the next generation, because everybody here, and even the babies that are being born right now in mothers' stomachs, are already exposed to the environment. So whatever we need to do needs to be done now. That way, in the next 20 to 30 to 50 years, this problem can get cleaned up. And when I talk about being done now, you start talking about it, then it goes to legislation. That takes about 5 years.
Yeah.
And if it starts today, which is highly unlikely, because if I hit roadblocks, I can imagine everyone else is hitting roadblocks too. And the problem with that is there's just, I keep saying this, and I wish I was wrong, and maybe I am wrong. I just don't think people care enough, because they have other things to worry about. They have to go to their jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
They have kids to raise. I get it. I think that's the problem is a lot of times I do want to stop talking about this, but then I get the people talking to me and saying that I'm doing a good job pushing out this message. And a lot of times it's just like, it doesn't feel like people are doing enough. So I kind of just like, for me, it's just like, should I stop talking about it? I struggle with this every day, man.
I'm sure.
I used to lose sleep at night about this. No longer anymore, because I figure like some people just don't care, and the people talk crap to me online. But if it's people talking crap to me, and I at least help one family to just open their eyes about the issues that are here, they make better decisions, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Part of it is, of course, them not caring in terms of like having more important priorities in terms of, like you said, just making ends meet and keeping the lights on. But I think part of it is it's kind of it's a hopeless feeling, right? Like, how am I going to do something to stop people from polluting the air and polluting the water? And it really is going to take a huge grassroots movement to, stop what's going on. And so, I mean, it's not even just our area, there's areas all around the country that kind of go through similar things.
Right. And I get that too. I get that feedback too. It's like, well, everybody in America is going through those problems. Fine. But I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. And my family's from the Rio Grande Valley. The people I know are from the Rio Grande Valley. And another issue I have too is like when community leaders will go out and tell everybody that their water is safe to consume, when you can clearly see from the consumer confidence report that it is not. So let me just give everybody some insight here. The consumer confidence report that you get every single year that gets mailed out in summer, that's measuring the water results from last year. So for example, the 2025 report that we just got maybe 2 months ago is measuring the water quality from January to December of 2024. So if your water is contaminated today, you won't find out till summer 2026. Now, there's a huge discrepancy there, because people will go online, or city officials will come and say your water is safe to consume. And then you get your consumer confidence report, and it shows that there's chlorides, there's halioacetic acids, there's all these chemicals used to clean the water or sanitize it, plus arsenic, high levels of arsenic, and all these other chemicals that are listed on there. I don't know about you, but I'm not down for drinking chemicals in the water. So, I mean, clearly, if you see from the consumer confidence report, it's not clean. So I even though there's levels that they can sit within that are legally safe,
like
I
the
think it's a
federally
disservice,
kind of acceptable.
I think it's a disservice for the community, for the community leader to say that it is safe to consume. So that's my gripe with that.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, and like I mentioned, before I started studying it, like I knew, like, hey, of course you want to drink clean air or drink clean water and breathe clean air, but it's not until you kind of take that next step in terms of like, how is this impacting me, right? Like, of course, especially whenever it's almost like terror at every turn, right? Like, okay, I can't drink my tap water. Oh, let me drink the bottled water. Oh man,
Right.
the bottled water's got all this weird stuff in it too.
Yeah.
And
I can't eat
so,
this. I can't eat that.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah. And I get it. I get it.
And what I tell people now is what I've learned in this program. So I've been doing intermittent fasting for like 5 years. I only eat once a day
Okay.
generally. There are some days on weekends, I do have breakfast and dinner.
Hmm.
But I've been doing intermittent fasting for probably over 5 years at this point. Um, and the reason I started doing it was because it was kind of not, I wouldn't say all the rage, but people have been talking about it and the health implications
Right.
of it. And for me, I had tried it out and I just started to realize like I have so much more energy now. This is
For
kind of
sure. It
crazy.
keeps you sharp too.
Yeah. And so I started doing that. And then I come into this program and I learned like, hey, a lot of the foods that we eat are obviously contaminated. And like, they was talk about chicken and all the antibiotics they
The
get and
hormones and all that
things.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but what I've learned in this program is that basically the way I tell people this is like you have to work really hard to kill yourself.
Hmm.
You have to kill yourself with fasting, with exercise, with sauna, with cold plunge, these various ways to basically stress your body on your terms.
Hmm.
Because if you don't stress your body on your terms and you don't do these things, chances are you're going to get some kind of weird disease, and that disease is going to stress your body on its terms.
Right.
So the more you can stress your body and kind of keep that immune system healthy and um, ready to defend against whatever weird thing that ends up in your body, it's kind of there's no magic pill, right? So
Not yet.
you might take some kind of prescription drug, and of course, people need to take their medicine to regulate their blood pressure
Sure.
or their diabetes medicines to help keep them, or their
Yeah.
insulin, injections. And so, of course, those things are important. But I feel like more often than not now, you go to a doctor and they're going to just write you some kind of prescription for something.
give you a
But
pill.
like 20, 30 years ago, the doctor would be like, hey, well, maybe change your lifestyle a little bit
Right.
first, like try to do some of these lifestyle changes. But then, big pharma and their interests, it's a big lobby and there's a
Yeah.
lot of, different kind of things
Even
involved
fasting
with that.
alone is a controversial issue because I've talked about it before because I do intermittent fasting. I won't eat from like 8 p.m. to like 2 p.m. the next day. Well, so after this, I'll have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
But your body doesn't need that much food. But then again, I'm lifting weights now, so my body does require certain stuff.
Yeah.
But a normal person's body, you can fast. You can go without some food. And the interesting part about that, I wanted to touch on something else. Is I had an interview with Jim White, which actually did a study on the Arroyo Colorado. And the way he explained it to me was that all of us are already exposed to something here in the Rio Grande Valley, whether it's through consumption of water, air, or something. And the way he explained it to me was that when your body gets too weak or your body gets too old, a chemical will get released that can become cancerous or become an illness. So I think it's just you have to do your part to take care of your body, your health, your mental health. Keep reading, keep studying because you have to put in the work because as soon as you stay sedentary, like just things start to go downhill and they go downhill fast.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why when I tell people that I know that are retiring, like it's like, hey, congratulations on retiring, but don't stop. You don't want to retire and then just become a couch potato and
Right.
watch TV all day or
Yeah.
just like doom scroll social media. Like you need to go out. You should still be active. Try to go fishing, try to go on a hike. And
Yeah.
for me, I've lived most of my adult life in the Seattle, Washington area,
Okay.
and I love it so much up there because obviously it's a little bit cooler and obviously it's, overcast and it's known for being rainy in Seattle, but it's mostly like a light drizzle a lot of the days. So it's, you can literally wear like this light little rain cover and just go for a nice hike. And what I tell people is like, man, the sun in Seattle is, it's a blessing because when the sun comes out, it feels good. And it's like, oh, it warms you up. But down
Yeah.
here in Texas, it's like, man, the sun's trying to kill you
Always
down
hot.
here.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it hard, and it makes me a little sad because I like to be active outside and
Yeah.
do those kinds of things. And I think that could be another reason why people don't get out and exercise as much. Of course, you can go indoors and run on a treadmill and
Yeah, I had saw a study the other day that showed that the Rio Grande Valley doesn't have that many sidewalks, which is also interesting because a lot of people just don't move.
Yeah.
So they live a sedentary lifestyle here, which is interesting because that does contribute to the health issues that we have here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah. So with your documentary, what inspired you to to do it, or to, write it
Yeah.
and start doing the filming and those types of
So
things.
March 27th was the last time we got the big flood. March 27th, I was in Houston. I'm a dance dad, so my daughter was dancing in Houston. I was sitting there literally doing nothing. I don't know if I have OCD or something, but I always have to be doing something. I was there literally just like this, like with my legs moving around. And then I was looking at everybody on Facebook. I was like, dude, something's going on down there. It's getting flooded everywhere across the Rio Grande Valley. So I started writing a fictional story, a script about the next Hurricane Beulah that would come and would kill 100,000 people, 1 in 14 people in the Rio Grande Valley.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? Let me start working on my next documentary. And I started reaching out to people that same night. I felt like a real a-hole reaching out to people that night because their homes were getting flooded, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a documentary filmmaker, you kind of need the raw emotion from what's going on with the people that were right then and there.
Yeah, for sure.
And interesting enough, about 6 to 8 people said yes, they want to tell their story. So once I got back into town, I started researching, and that's when I started going down a rabbit hole and just finding all this stuff that was going on. And a lot of people, interesting enough, every single person I interviewed or interacted with from that documentary had either said they felt forgotten or that nobody's coming to help, which is true because weeks later, nobody was helping them. So it's heartbreaking to see that the community that they rely on, that they're in, nobody is helping them except the other community members, like the
Yeah.
officials.
Yeah.
They're not helping them. So it's like, who do you go to?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then they're coming to me on social media like, I'm not a commissioner, I'm not a mayor, so like, I ask myself a lot of times, like, why are they coming to me? And the reason why they're coming is because nobody's listening to them.
Yeah.
Isn't that heartbreaking?
Yeah. I mean, and that's really all it takes is somebody to listen, and they kind of just, even if you can't do anything about it, just hearing them out and like basically being like their therapist, right?
Yeah.
Like letting them vent, letting them get their emotions out, and knowing that you care enough to listen. And
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, man.
yeah, no doubt about it. And one thing that happened to me recently that really broke my heart, I was learning this in class and I went, "Oh my God," like I yelled, "Oh my God," just out loud. And my classmates looked at me like, "What's wrong with this guy?" Is so, my wife, like I said, we've lived most of our adult lives in Seattle area, in Washington State. And she used to work for a superintendent at a school district. So at the school district kind of building she worked at, she would tell me like, "Man, I hate whenever it starts to get real cold because this old lady that lives next to our building, she burns trash to stay warm." And so that smoke from the burning trash that the lady's burning to stay warm was going into the office building and causing headaches and all kinds of issues. And so I thought like, man, we live in Washington State. There's trees everywhere. Like I would feel like this lady could just get like donated wood to her,
Right.
and I'm sure she could if, of course you just got to reach out for help. I learned in business school, closed mouths don't get fed. You got to ask for stuff in order to receive
Most
it.
people won't ask.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the sad part.
Yeah, and so whenever I was taking a class with an environmental chemist, he was, talking to us about the different stuff and the different air pollutants that go all over the country. And he mentioned kind of in passing, he's like, "Hey guys, whenever it starts to get colder around here, do you recognize that it smells kind of funny? Like there's a funny smell in the air when it gets colder down here. And do you know what that is?" And everybody was like, "No, what is it?" He's like, "Well, whenever it starts to get cold down here, people burn their trash to stay warm." And that's when it like snapped back to me like, "Oh, wow, that's what that lady in Washington State was doing." But I literally was just like, "Oh my God," like, wow. I had forgot about that and never even thought about it in terms of that context again. So yeah, I'm sure like right across the border in Mexico, I'm sure a lot of people do that too. But at that point it's a northern wind, so our air pollution might be bothering them more than us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's bad over there. I have a buddy named Bill Rovera. He talks about his time in Mexico where it's just highly polluted as well. But then you also think about like Cameron County. Now we have SpaceX over there, and then the 2 new LNG plants that are coming.
Yeah, I drove by one of the construction sites. It's going to be a huge plan.
It's a huge plan, and I think they just greenlit it to be finished by 2029. So you think about that, like what's going to happen to the environment over there, and with like, for example, the RGVHealthConnect.org. 288,000 pounds of carcinogens were released into the air from 2013 to 2023. The new data hasn't come out yet. So what is SpaceX going to contribute to that? What is the LNG plants going to contribute to that? I have a feeling that the same South Padre Island that we know and love today is not going to be the same South Padre Island in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, who knows if it's going to even be around. Like, if we get another massive hurricane like Hurricane Beulah, and I stumbled upon this too because I found out that there was a ship that sank many years ago, and there's gold on the bottom of there. So it was a pretty cool thing.
Crazy.
But where it showed the boat sank before, the island was a lot further inward. So it's significantly been erased a little bit more. So in the next 200 years, the island can be gone.
Crazy.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's
from
just interesting.
The water level rise, and the global warming
And the
melting
shifting of
ice.
the sands. It's just interesting to see that.
Yeah, and a lot of times on my commute, you know, when I get back from Brownsville to McAllen, when I get to the North McAllen area, a lot of times I'll be driving, you know, and there's also like, I don't know what kind of plants they are in North McAllen, but they have some kind of chemical plants up there. And I don't know if it's from those plants. It might be, it might not be, but I always smell like this weird sour gas smell. And I'm always just like, man, what is that? Like, it doesn't, you know, it smells like something nobody should be breathing.
Right.
But I'm just like, man. And so I still have a military grade gas mask that I kind of carry with me in my car because I'm just like, nope, I'm not going to breathe that stuff.
You know, the crazy, I think about that a lot too. Is like, what happens if there was something that came down or something was released and it just like kills everybody, and then you go retreat in your like bunker, and then you come out like everybody's dead. It's like, you know what? I'll just die with everybody, man. It's like, it's gonna be boring.
Yeah, for sure.
Those thoughts go through my head. I don't know if it's a little bit morbid, but it's like, man, it seems like everything is kind of piled against us, because even if you think about this, I saw the floodplain for Rio Grande Valley. It was the Arroyo watershed floodplain or something. One of the floodplain, Texas floodplain things, and it showed that 82,000 homes and 300 facilities lie directly within the floodplain of the Rio Grande Valley. But I saw another one from Texas, the Texas official one, and it said no, that the entire Rio Grande Valley is within a floodplain. So if we were to get some historic biblical flood, the entire Rio Grande Valley would be gone. Right? Yeah, like that's insane. So
yeah, and I've been I've honestly already been prepping for a hurricane, because I feel the way the weather has been over the last couple months, it's kind of outside the norm. It's been raining a lot more.
And from it doesn't take much to flood either.
Yeah, and for like I've only lived down here for about 3 years since I started this program that I'm in, but in those 3 years, it's never rained so much in the last 3-4 months. It's been raining. It rained quite a bit over the summer. We had that little flood issue that happened here, in McAllen, Edinburgh area.
Well, I want to talk about that too, because that was the March 27th floods. So the Canterbury Elementary. So this is a direct result. The Canterbury Elementary here in Edinburgh, Texas, specifically. The water inundated the sewage system, which pushed up into their cafeteria, which pushed up sewage. And a lot of kids were getting sick. They got E. coli. There was an E. coli break, and a lot of parents were pissed. That was directly because of the March 27 floods. So imagine that happens over and over and over again across the Rio Grande Valley. Now you have E. coli breakouts. I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but I have a feeling that a lot of those kids are going to be experiencing illnesses when they get older, because they've already been inundated with all those chemicals. Or because even if you think about that, if they sanitized it, that stuff already went into the vents, so they're breathing that stuff in. Yeah. So it's respiratory illnesses now, which the valley is known for. There's higher rates. There's increasing rates of asthma in children in Cameron County as well. So it's just. I don't know, man. It's like, as you keep going down that rabbit hole and you just keep finding more crap that piles up on top and top and top. It's like, dude, sometimes I wish I had never stumbled upon this stuff. Yeah. I was naively happy. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Well, with that note, we're going to take another quick music break, and we'll be right back. So stay tuned, everyone. Thanks. All right, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned in. So we have a couple minutes left, and what I like to do, Joshua, at the end of the show is just give you the mic. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to share with people. Your websites, your social medias. So a couple minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of whatever you want to share. Feel free to take it away.
Cool. Yeah. So, like I said, my name's Joshua Morales. I didn't mention this earlier, but I'm a certified digital marketer and advertiser. So anywhere you see a digital ad, I can place them there. But that's kind of secondary. That job has allowed me to put my research in and talk about the environments. And it's a good thing because at one point I was kind of complaining, like, well, why did I have to stumble upon all this stuff and it's keeping me awake at night? And then I started thinking about it a different way, is that I'm kind of fortunate to be able to look through these documents and have time to look through these theses and government reports, because most people don't have time. So I had to change my frame of mind that to know that, yes, I am fortunate enough to be able to put this information out. And since I am reaching such a large audience right now, I'm trying to purposely stay in front of them by providing information and education, and sometimes some form of entertainment, right? But I think the education and information aspect of it is so important, because a lot of people I've found learn like me, which is in bullet points. So I can take certain 56 pages of documents, 26 pages of thesis reports, and dumb it down into like a one-page report. And I'm not saying dumb it down in a derogatory way. I'm saying dumb it down for the way I understand things, because I understand that people learn that exact same way. So I'll bring it down into like a minute video where I can share it and it's easily consumable. That way people can go out and do what they got to do to protect their families, because I get it. Everybody's busy. Everybody has work. They have children to take care of. They have jobs to take care of. It's tough times. And the environment in the United States, especially with work, bills, it's tough. I get it, and I understand. So I'm trying to do my best, my parts, to give back to the Rio Grande Valley community, just so they have a little bit of awareness about the choices that they should be making to make their lives healthier, especially for them, because if their parents aren't around, who's going to take care of the children? And then also instill those thoughts and those ideas into their children. That way they can realize that the Rio Grande Valley environment isn't everything that it seems. It is a toxic environment. I'm not saying it's completely toxic. Well, yeah, it probably is. I'm just trying to open people's eyes to the environment. Like, be aware of your environment and your surroundings, because the air you have to breathe, the water you have to drink, you have to consume it, you have to cook your sopitas, you have to consume it somehow, right? So I think my goal here is just to create enough awareness, that way people are aware of the environment and also how to read their water reports. Because if you look at a water report, it's a bunch of jargon that people don't understand. So they see it, they'll throw it away. But they need to understand that water report is so important, because it shows you exactly what is in the water that you're consuming, that you bathe with, that you brush your teeth with. You cannot escape water. You cannot escape air. So it's just important that people realize that the things that they're putting in their body, that they're consuming, that they're breathing in, can be detrimental to their health. So anything that they can do, exercise, read, keep your mind busy, keep active. These are all things that you need to do for yourself, for your family, because at the end of the day, I hate to say this, but I don't think anybody's coming to help us.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it at a bad note, but I don't know how else to put it, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of these hard truths that we have to deal with, especially in the Rio Grande Valley, because it is a kind of a place that has been historically forgotten over time. Actually, just real quick, I did a talk for the Seattle Times called Ignite Education Lab, and one of the education reporters told me that she actually worked down here for a little bit, and she told me, she was like, man, you'll never guess what, the state of Texas wasn't even keeping track of educational records for students in the Rio Grande Valley. Wow. And I was like so blown away by that. So
that's unfortunate.
And that's why we need to take care of each other. And that's why I really appreciate what you're doing, because, like I said, it's a hard truth, but it's something that we need to be aware of, and just know, that we can work together to make change. And it's an uphill battle, but like any, uphill battle, it's going to be worth it. So
it's worth it.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on, Joshua.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your message. Thank you for all the posts you put, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time, man.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Be sure to tune in next week to RGV Community Health Hour. And so Tuesdays, 11 to 12. And until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and let's thrive together, RGV. Boom.